How many families on average do you provide a home to each year?
It actually varies a fair bit from year to year. In any given year, I'd say there's probably a minimum of about 25 families that we're building homes for. We're moving towards a goal of 100 homes a year.
Do you guys provide the same service for every family? If so, like how does it change if it's not the same? Like, is it just the same service?
So we generally provide the same service. It's a home with a 0% interest mortgage, but we do adapt the homes that we give to the family. So for example, if a family has a serious mobility issue, or there's a member who's sight impaired or things like that, we can often accommodate them in the design of their home. We like to know about that stuff beforehand so that we can sort of figure out the right project for them to go into. In the past, for example, there was a project in Northern Etobicoke we did where two of the families had members who were blind, and we helped set up the interior of the home so that it accommodated their needs.
After they move in, is there any other financial help given, or are they?
So we offer a series of workshops. We don't do direct cash transfers in that sense, so we're not like subsidizing them living in the home or anything, but both before they move in and after they move in, there's a series of workshops they go through. The workshops cover financial literacy, their contractual obligations, bylaw compliance.
What are the standards that you guys build your homes? Like, what standards do you guys follow?
So we make our homes, I believe it's currently Energy Star compliant, which is a building standard. It's the new building code standard.
Does it matter to you the size of the family you're going to help? Is there a minimum or maximum number of people per household?
So we look for, we have a backlog of families at the moment, and we're trying to increase our build program to get people out of that backlog. We look for parents and children, or grandparents and children, depending, but we're not too fussy about number. The main thing is that we have to plan our build projects several years before we actually put a shovel in the ground. And so we're always looking for what are the kinds of families we have on our list versus what are the kinds of homes we're building. Yeah.
Has there been like a certain project that stood out to you from all the others?
That's a good question. Each one of the projects is kind of unique and has its own unique feel. Speaking personally, the one that I always remember the most is actually the very first home that was built when I came on board. It was out in Brampton, and I was still kind of starry-eyed and this sort of stuff. And I remember the family that I met. Their name is the Pichos. So the Pichos are mother, father, 4 kids. Kids range from, I think, Jed must be 19 now, to Jeremy, who must be 7 now, but at the time was like 3. Oh, so he must be 8 now. Jeez, Hoskins was a 3-unit build. Hoskins A, B, and C. It was a parking lot that kids used to drink in that had been set aside by the city. They didn't really have a plan for it, so it was just wasteland. We built that place. The Pichos went into Hoskins A, the first home that was finished on there. And I remember what had gone on was the guy who had actually overseen the construction of the home, his name was Dorinda, who's still with us. Dorinda wasn't going to be able to make the key ceremony the next day, where we actually hand over the key and there's a big hullabaloo. So he kind of snuck them in to see the house beforehand. So Mary Ruth, who's the mother, and Jeremy, who is Joseph. Joseph's the second youngest kid. Joseph was the super serious little dude. He was 7 at the time, and I had known him for 4 months or something. I'd never seen him smile once. Okay, every time he saw me, he's just kind of. So Mary Ruth comes in, and Joseph comes in, and they're kind of looking around, and Mary Ruth just turns to him and is like, "Joseph, go to your room." And Joseph kind of lights up because for 7 years they had been living in the 6 of them had been living in a 2-bedroom apartment. They had to move constantly from crappy 2-bedroom to crappy 2-bedroom. And he ran upstairs and he got to pick out which room was going to be his.
Aww.
And it's one of those moments where he kind of, and I saw him smile for the first time. And actually I think I've only ever seen him smile once since. He's a very serious little guy. His heart, you could tell in that moment this was his first room that he was ever going to have to himself instead of sharing it with his 2 other brothers. And it was that moment where I sort of got stuck. I was like, okay, I'm with this damn organization whether I want it or not. housing seems like less urgent than many other issues for people. People look at homelessness, and I certainly care about homelessness. They look at, you know, like people starving in other countries and things like that, disasters. And I'm not going to say any of that isn't worthwhile, but we are in the middle of a housing crisis in Canada that has been a slow burning fire for decades. And we're reaching the point where we really, like, we either turn it around now or else it's going to rush over a cliff.